All right.
You're on.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. I wasn't quite expecting this, but we'll wing it. Dan, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Dan.
Happy to be here. This is my first time at this meeting. So just want me to kind of give a backstory, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
What it was like, what happened, and what it's like now.
Sure. So currently I'm on day 79 of my sobriety. Thank you. It's been a whirlwind. I would say the last 3 or 4 years has been like about 8 to 10 months sober, and then a relapse, and kind of some bad things happen, and then I kind of get back on. This last one was in May. I had been 8 months sober, and I was on a vacation, and I had just been promoted at my job to a director, and so I was feeling pretty good about myself, and I was feeling like there's more to lose, and it was kind of a weird vacation. Like I got bit by a dog, and I got sick, and so I was kind of, they always say that you relapse before you have that first drink. And so I think all these things were kind of like giving me a little bit more ammunition. Like, see, like, okay, put this in the bank over here. That's kind of maybe something telling you to drink. And then the last day I was going to go to the beach, and it rained, and I was like, okay, this is it. I need a Mai Tai. I deserve it. So I went and had a Mai Tai, and then had another one, and then it was a curious thing. I mean, it just, they always say you go like right back tenfold where you were, even if it was like years before. And that happened pretty significantly. I flew back the next day, and in a matter of days was drinking like around the clock, and getting really sick, and I was still sick also. So I was kind of hiding behind that sickness, like, well, see, you can hear that I'm really sick. So work, I had empathy from work, from family. And so I was using that and taking advantage of that. While the real reason I was flaking out on things is because I was drunk, or going through withdrawals, or either or, I guess. And so this went on for about 3 weeks. And then my sister and my mom came over, intervened, and said, let's go to the ER and do a detox, which I had done twice before in the last, like, as I said, have had this pattern. And I usually go to the ER and get a medical detox and then kind of get back going. And so I did that, went to a hospital, into the ER, and at first they were saying my BAC was too high, so it was kind of, I weren't sure if they could even do the detox, but they did send me home with Librium. My mom spent a couple nights with me, and I went back to work that Monday. And I don't know, I think somehow I just had gotten really dehydrated, or didn't have a very good reaction to the Librium. But I was at my office, and I got up, and I was really dizzy and off balance. And so two of my coworkers I actually worked near a hospital too. So they took me to that ER. So in a matter of days, I had 2 ER visits. And they weren't really sure. They thought maybe I had a stroke because of the like off balance stuff. So they did like an MRI or a CT scan, EKG, all that stuff, and then sent me home, and I was fine. And yet, that wasn't the end of my drinking. So even after all that, then I was like, okay, I'm home. And then I got more empathy from work because people actually saw that I collapsed. So in some ways, I was like, okay, this gives me a little more time to do whatever I want. So I went back to drinking. Uber Eats ordering wine was kind of my go-to because I told myself I was being more responsible by not driving. Just doing that, continued. And then work knew something was going on, but they were also concerned, and I'd been a valuable employee. So they started working with my sister. So it was in the process of going on paid family medical leave. And then my sister came to my house, the same sister that got me into the ER, and she's like, I think you need to go to rehab. and inpatient rehab, and that's something I had always been vehemently opposed to. Just like as a control freak and as just someone that liked to control my environment, I didn't ever want to do that. Um, but then my other sister came, and we started talking to Lakeside Milam on the phone, and I did the intake on the phone, and next thing I knew, we were throwing some clothes and toiletries in a bag, and this was June 14th. Uh, got got checked into Milam, and then as I was checking in, I was kind of like, "How long is this?" And my sister's like a week. Yeah. So then I go to detox. I'm in my detox room, totally out of it. But then I don't know, maybe it was day 2, like the first morning or the next day. I was like getting all this literature about a 28-day program, and I freaked out. I was like, no, 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 this isn't happening. And I went to like every person. I was trying to go to the administration. I was calling my sister. I was calling my mom. I was like, I'm not staying for 28 days. Like, this wasn't part of the plan. And so I spent a good part of the first week trying to get out of it. And then the following week, my sisters came to visit and my mom. This was like day 9-ish. And I was like kind of ready to like accept it. But then they came and like we kind of had it out. Like a lot of emotions came up in that visit. And you do this thing called, I forgot what they're called. They're like these letters that people do on your last day when you do your first step, or not your last day, but you go through this first step thing, and there's these letters. We kind of did a live theater version of that. So a lot, very emotional. We both. I have 3 sisters and then my mom, and we all said some things that we probably didn't intend to, or it was a charged event. But then I kind of felt relief from that. And I think that next, and then I had moved out of detox, and I actually really liked the guy that I got paired with, and I started kind of feeling like, oh, maybe this is okay. And around then, like around day 9-10 is when I was like, okay, I can do this. And if I'm I've always been a very like overachiever type person, and that's been part of the whole story, is that I use success to compensate for the drinking. And so I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do rehab, I'm gonna really do rehab. And so I started, showing up to all my groups, doing all my homework. I got my treatment plan, got it done by like day 12, and but I was still like counting the days and kind of thinking, am I really gonna stay the whole 28 days? But I started meeting people, and but I also heard that it wasn't going to be too AA focused. So instead, that's only part of it. However, like the agenda, if you look at it, it's kind of like AA all the time. And I had told them that, I had been working some other programs like Smart Recovery, and I had done AA in like 2018, and kind of started it, and it wasn't really for me. I wasn't into the God stuff. I felt like it was a cult. It's like saying all the things that I felt. But and so they have what's called a case manager. You're in a group, and like I was a gold group, and my case manager was also gone the first week or so I was there because he had food poisoning. So this other guy who was an administrator did my treatment plan, and I was kind of working with him and trying to get special treatment. Basically, I was like, I have to have my own room. I might leave. I don't want to do AA. Being basically an entitled asshole. But then he came back, and someone else on staff told me, they're like, we had talked, and this guy's name was Connor, and they said he's really nuts and bolts AA all the time, steps guy. So we may move you to a different group. I was like, okay, great. But then I met Connor, and he's very like straight shooter guy, and I liked him. And I told him in our first weekly one-on-one, I said, I'm not super into AA. I think I might try it. And he asked me on this, they have this thing on the wall, like, where are you at? And I'm like, I think I'm at acceptance, because it ended with surrender. I think there were like 4 things. And he's like, well, would you get a sponsor if I told you to? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. He's like, well, if you're truly at acceptance, you would just do that. And I was like, okay. So I was like kind of starting to get an idea of it. And then shortly after that, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they let us go to outside meetings. So I signed up for one, and it was a Wednesday night meeting in Kirkland called Anchor Group. Great meeting. And I was sitting there, and it happened to, this guy came and sat next to me, really cool guy, and we just kind of vibed right away. And I told him I was in Milam, and he was actually there celebrating his 12 years. They had cake and everything. And then he said that he had been to Milam and it saved his life. And so kind of a coincidence, or serendipity maybe. And then when they asked, and it was a really good meeting, and in that meeting was the very first time I was like, kind of got it. Like, I kind of understood the higher power thing, and I was kind of like, well, if all these people are talking about how it's improved their lives, like, why not do it, or why not try it? And then they asked if people were taking sponsors, and he raised his hand. And it was also when I first sat down, like, oh, new people, you need phone numbers. So they were very encouraging for that. And then I had his phone number, and I'm like, oh, is this you? And would you maybe be open to sponsorship? Because that's the thing. They're like, you have to get at least a temporary sponsor before you leave. Or I don't know if you really had to, but there's a lot of things going on in rehab like that where people were like scared of getting like in trouble. And so he said, yeah. So he is currently my sponsor. I'm on step 4. I obviously made it through the 28 days. I got out on July 12th, and I ended up getting quite a bit out of it. I'm in touch with a lot of the people, and I started working the steps with my sponsor. I just saw him yesterday. And I found a home group. It was actually the home group I used to go to when I was like kind of half into it. But it's great because my neighbor goes, and it's really close to my house. So I go there every Thursday night. And I found some other meetings, and I'm always trying to explore others like this, and the app has been really helpful. So I've learned a lot about humility, and a lot about, so this right now I had to write out all my resentments. And at first I thought, oh, this is not going to take too long, or won't be very many people. And then I got to the 3rd page, and, okay. and then I would like go back and be like, oh yeah, I'm also a person who did this, like, and it's just crazy. Like there's stuff on there, like guy at coffee shop who never liked me back, like just like and then I did the 2nd and 3rd columns, like what it was and what the impact is. And so now my next step, which I'm going to work on tomorrow, is my part in it. And my part is big. And, going back, I lost a lot. I've lost a lot from drinking. I've lost, it played a big part in my divorce, which was 2018, 2019. And I've lost a lot of friends, and I've risked reputation. I mean, I've been lucky to be where I am in my career, but there were some questionable times, times where I had to just kind of abruptly leave a job because I didn't want them to find out. So I guess what I've learned in the last 79 days is that it's different. It's different when you're going through a program, and you have that support, which I didn't really have before. I mean, I was going to kind of a program, but it was online, and it wasn't the same as this. And I still question it. I still am like, I pray to my higher power, and I've kind of figured that out for myself. I grew up Catholic, and like the Catholic Church was on my resentment list. So I have some hang-ups with religion and God and all that, but it's getting there. I'm getting there. I think, every day I try to have an intention, and I try to, humbly ask that my character defects be removed or as much as they ever can. And what I've really realized is in going to these meetings and being around people who have been in it for many, many years and still come back and still go to meetings almost every day, some people, is that it's the work is never done, and that's kind of the point, is that it's the sobriety part is a big part of it, but then it's like an opportunity to continually improve yourself, and I feel fortunate that I came upon it through becoming an alcoholic, because a lot of people otherwise wouldn't get that opportunity to really, for all the self-reflection and to think about what we say and do and the impact it has on other people. And I think I never really understood why people would stay in it for so long. I thought you would just do your 12 steps and get all your chips and get the fuck out, but I see now the benefits beyond, sobriety, and some of that, some of just not drinking I've had for, almost a year, and I've had all that pink cloud, and the health stuff is, comes back right away, sleep, energy. And I've always filled that with a lot of success, but loneliness has always been a driver for me, and this has been an opportunity to feel a little less lonely, in both being an alcoholic and being around other people who are struggling with this disease, but also people who are just interested in showing up for each other without any judgments or any agendas. And it's really something quite marvelous, I think. And I think that's about all I have to say. So thank you.